we're looking well out in October right now. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Before we get in the meeting, I want to thank everybody for all the cards and emails that I got while I was in recovery. Really appreciate it. And thanks to Steve, our Mayor Pro Tem, for taking over the last two meetings. He did an excellent job. Okay. That being said, I'd like to call the September 21st City Council meeting for the City of Cannon Falls to order. Could we have roll call, please?
Bringold.
Here.
Duncan.
Here.
Gesme.
Here.
Cronenberger.
Here.
Lundell.
Here.
Montgomery.
Here.
Altoff.
Here. Would you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or corrections for the agenda? If not, a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Gesme, a second by Duncan to approve the agenda. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we'll get right into the consent agenda. Consent agenda items may be adopted under one motion as presented, or may be removed for discussion and resolution as council business. For you at home and in the audience, I'll go through the consent agenda. Item A, just and correct claims for the accounting period ending September 17th, 2021. Item B, minute meetings for the September 7th, 2021 City Council special meeting. Item C, minute meetings for the September 7th, 2021 City Council meeting. Item D, Resolution 2575, authorizing budget transfers for the funding of a fire truck. Item E, approve the disposal of the 1991 Ford pumper truck. Item F, approve the Public Works Employee Maintenance 1 hire. Item G, Resolution 2576, in support of Goodhue County ARPA funds being utilized for fire department, first responder, and EMS mobile and portable radio purchases. Item H, introduction and first reading of ordinance 378 on the ordinance of the City of Cannon Falls, Minnesota, amending the City Code Chapter 152 relating to sexually oriented uses. Is there anything that any of these the council would like to pull down? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Bringold, second by Montgomery to approve the consent agenda. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, we'll get right into council business. Item A is Greensmith Builders LLC, request for lot split. Neil, you want to take that?
Aaron Smith is here today. He is the owner, CEO of Greensmith Builders. If you remember back a few months ago, we approved a lot split for the Hayes development to break off that part of that 12 acres. One of the concerns that we had was now we have 8 acres sitting out there, a beautiful site, somebody coming in and buying the 8 acres and building one home on it. So what we said back then was when the time came and we get a developer like Greensmith Builders, that we would come up with an idea that prevents them from building just one home. In your packet, you'll see a letter from Greensmith Builders' attorney that says, hey, we're going to plat this, and we'll agree to no building permits issued until it's platted with, I believe it's 24 lots or more. And Aaron is here tonight maybe to explain a little bit on what he's got going and make an introduction to you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen. Thank you, city staff. Thank you, council members, and thank you, Mayor Eltoff, and I'm glad you're in good shape. Councilmember Guesme said you're tougher than tough, so we're glad to. Oh, I didn't want to add that. I'll let you add that. But it's my pleasure to be here in front of the city of Cannon Falls. I absolutely adore the city and what it has to offer, and we were excited to find an opportunity here. We've done some other development in Laverne, and we typically invest in small town America. Our goal is to be the greenest builder in Minnesota. So that's kind of fun and exciting for all of us. We try to build a very energy efficient house where the homeowners have next to nothing on utility bills. And we hope that that money is invested in economic development in the community. I think that your great school district attracted us here as well. And of course, the beautiful property. If you've had a chance to walk the Parcel A of the Hayes Addition and see the beautiful bluffs behind, it's just phenomenal. We want to do something that's very respectful to the community. We've done even with the zoning of R3, I did send kind of the replan to the R3, and we've chosen all single-family homes. If you're familiar with kind of the new urbanism concept, it's generally large front porches, and I think we added sidewalks on both sides, even though Neil said we could just do the sidewalks on one side, but we want to make it a very walkable, livable community. And in our view, it's young families wanting to move back to rural, small towns with great school districts. I think that Cannon Falls has a unique opportunity being situated kind of equidistant between the Mayo expansion that's happening and then Minneapolis, St. Paul, 40 minutes each side. And again, it's just beautiful. And hey, with the brewery and winery in town, what's not to love? So any questions from?
Do you have a time frame in mind?
We'd like to go as soon as possible. I know one thing we talked with city staff about was that we kind of had a cart horse problem because we can't technically close on a lot until it's split off, but we understood that you didn't want to split till you knew somebody was doing it. So we've tried to provide assurances to the city attorney and Mr. Jensen to such, but that is 100% our intention is to develop it as you see. Once we close, we have to do our topographical on-site survey and an ALTA survey just to get the geography, but we don't think it's going to change an awful lot. The images used were from LiDAR topography, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
I don't,
Welcome to town.
yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, before we get into the next two items,
Well,
We gotta
we got
approve this
to
first.
approve.
Oh, yeah,
Or
okay.
do something with it.
I'll make a motion to
Approve.
approve the lot split.
second?
Second.
Okay, a motion by Duncan, a second by Montgomery to approve the lot split on the Hayes property. Any other discussion?
Can I just ask a question quick?
Sure.
Do you have an idea of value of the houses?
Well, you're asking a question in a crazy market.
Absolutely.
But, no, I think our
I'm thinking
goal,
just from like a buyer's perspective.
yeah, our goal is to do as affordable as possible. I think it's 499 to 599 would be the perfect range to get in. A year ago, I would have told you less, but things are crazy right now. So we'll try to stay in that range.
Okay,
Thank you.
Curious.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, before we get into the next two items, the Planning Commission Chairman dropped off some questions that we might have before we get into discussion on the Keller Bartman. You've all got a copy of this in front of you. If there's any questions you've got on it, you want to ask them, do it now. The only thing that I see there is Doug Rexel and Steve Bauer's letters were not in the agenda packet, and they will be put in there now, but if there's you got any questions on there?
No.
Now's the time. Okay, hearing none. We'll get into item B, Resolution 2577. It's approving business subsidies in the form of tax increment financing et al. For the Keller Bartman Properties 14 LLC Housing Project 2021, located at 415 Hickory Drive. Laura, you want to take that?
Thank you. Mayor and Council, in regard to the Keller Bartman project, the EDA had convened on July 1st and had reviewed the business subsidy application provided by Keller Bartman. And in that, there was a few terms that were discussed by the EDA, and then the EDA made a recommendation to the Finance Committee. Finance Committee met on July, where is it here? July 8th, July 9th, and reviewed the subsidies that were requested. And the subsidies that were requested were waiving the WAC and SAC fees of an estimated $128,000, and an interfund loan of up to $70,000 to be used for miscellaneous expenses, and then also covering the building permit fee of up to $40,000. Now, as far as the building permit fee, we did, Neil and I, and then the county administrator and county finance director did speak about the possibility of the county waiving that or covering those building permit fees of up to $40,000. They had some funds that were available that they've been using for new construction, so that's where we're hoping that if there's still money in the bucket by the time this project were to come to fruition, that would be most likely covered by Goodhue County. If not, then that would be an additional $40,000 for an interfund loan. So it would actually be in the form of a grant to Keller Bartman, but then the funds would be repaid through the TIF administrative fee over time. So with that, if you have any questions for me, I'll certainly try to answer that. Otherwise, we would be looking for a motion to approve those business subsidies of the WAC and SAC, the $70,000, the possible $40,000, and then again, those would be covered or recouped through the TIF.
Any questions from the council? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Now, this is just to approve the TIF. correct?
Yes.
Right.
yes, It's just to
We're
approve the
not
TIF.
approving anything else with this.
Just,
Can you repeat that, please?
Can't remember, what did I just say?
he said, is this just
Put
approving
your
the
mic
TIF?
on.
It's on. This is just approving the TIF, nothing else, right?
No, this is approving the business subsidies of the WAC and SAC.
Continue on with,
Yeah.
Yep, the 70,000 and then the potential 40,000. So the Finance Committee did make a recommendation to bring this to you back in July. So we're bringing it we're bringing it forward to you tonight because we're partnering it with the other item for the project that Diane will be discussing soon.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2577, the business subsidies and the TIF.
Second.
Motion by Montgomery, second by Bringold, to approve the business subsidies in the form of tax increment financing. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-1. Okay, we'll get into Keller Bartman Properties. Item number 1 is Resolution 2578, approving the rezone and development stage for the Keller Bartman 79-unit apartment complex at 415 Hickory Drive. Diane, you going to take that?
This lot is currently zoned B2. The apartment complex will include 79 units with a mix of efficiency units. Code requires a minimum of 500 square feet. Keller Bartman will be building efficiency apartments between 480 and 534 square feet. The third one would be height. Keller Bartman will be building an apartment building of approximately 4 stories. Ordinance is 3 stories. The fourth one is parking. Ordinance requires 2.25 parking stalls per unit. Keller Bartman will be providing 1.81 spaces per unit, which was up from what they had originally planned at 1.75. And the final one would be development density. Multifamily dwellings by code are required to be 2,500 square feet per unit, and Keller Bartman is proposing 79 units, so 79 times the 250 square feet would come out to be 197,750 square feet to meet code. The actual size of the lot is actually 132,609 square feet for 79 units. This comes out to be 1,678.6 square feet per unit. So what we're asking City Council to do tonight is to adopt a resolution to approve the rezone and planned unit development stage with the exceptions listed or as modified as you see fit. The attached ordinance is on the agenda for the first reading only. The second reading and final approval will be presented with a final approval for the project. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Yeah, I don't know why I can't find it on my thing here. I have the question. Okay, when did it go from market rate to low to moderate income?
Laura, that would be a question for you.
As far as using the term market rate, that really refers to it not being subsidized. The rents are not subsidized in that form. As far as the low income part, there's different levels of income. I mean, there's poverty, there's, middle class, there's low, moderate, whatever. The low income that is tagged with this project, the 40% of the units that will be reserved for the low income are the people that are reserving, or that are earning $40,000. Is that, Bobby, 40,000 or less?
That's how they judge that.
Yep. So $40,000 or less is who that, starting with the studio apartments, and then as the one bedrooms go up, then the salary increases or that income increases.
So, the subsidy thing that everybody's saying is not true, correct?
The rents are not subsidized.
Correct.
So the business subsidies that the project is receiving are coming back in the form of TIF or in, like we said, waiving of the whack and sack fees or
But there's
whatnot.
no,
But there is no subsidy
there's no rent.
for the
aid,
rent.
Right?
Correct.
Either you qualify for the unit or you don't, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear to a lot of,
I guess,
No, and I do believe that, and I know that that has been a misconception, that, it's subsidized housing or that it's, that it's going to be, I'm trying to think of the right term that I should use, but the fact that it's not subsidized does disqualify some people from being able to afford it. That doesn't mean that someone that is receiving subsidies couldn't live there, but they are not reducing the rents in order to accommodate that. People would have to come up for the difference if they were receiving housing subsidies, if that makes sense. But then they would have to come up for the difference to make their rent every month.
this development or this apartment that is not going to any way, shape, or form be involved in any of that. They're going to ask $10 a month, and you need to come up with that, correct?
Correct. Correct.
the question I have, and I guess this is a more general question, maybe even for Neil, is at the Planning Commission meeting, if you can call what happened last week a meeting, I'm not sure you can, but at the Planning Commission, at least two of the members said, this doesn't follow our comprehensive plan, as though that ended the matter, as though that just ended the discussion. But my readings of the comprehensive plan and everything else that we ever put out, after it says, these are the desired uses of said pieces of property. However, if the city feels there's a better use for it, they should rezone it. Am I wrong? Have I misread something? I mean, it's not the end of the matter to say it doesn't follow an almost 20-year-old document. Am I correct?
Yeah, I can handle this one, Mayor, members of the council. That's correct. The comprehensive plan is a big picture planning document. And especially as it gets older, it becomes less effective. Things change, and until we update the plan again, we just sort of have to work with what we've got. In addition, even if the plan had been put in place yesterday, there are sections, specifically affordable housing sections, that talk about, this sort of can trump the proposed plan, because there are certain things the city needs, and if there's a good spot for them, even if it doesn't match the comprehensive plan, the city council has the authority to make that zoning change.
That's what I thought. Okay. That's all I had.
That's it? Oh, my God.
Oh, I know. Frightening.
Convince the rest of us about the parking issues. Now, you and I and some of the other EDA members talked about that a little bit, and you said it provides for, I don't know what to call it, overflow parking or visitors, or how can you address that to soothe the wanton?
The nerves?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a fair question.
So the units, so there are 79 units. There's 143 parking spots that will be designated for this. 55 or 56 will be actually in the covered first floor underground parking, you can call it. The other parking will be outside. And when you look at the unit mix of the apartment building, 54 of them are studio or one bedroom. So when you look at, that's most likely going to be, I can't predict the future, but most likely a studio is going to be one person. It could certainly be a couple. And same thing with a one bedroom, it could be one person, it could also be a couple. So that could be 2 cars, it could be 1 car. There's only three bedrooms in the apartment. So with that, you could certainly have 3 cars with it. But I think that knowing that the unit mix is heavily weighted more in the studio and the 1 bedroom, I think that I would hope that would alleviate some of that stress about where are people going to park. There's not going to be enough. If there could be 150 residents living in the building, there's only 143 parking spots. What are we going to do? What's going to happen when grandma comes to visit? I think that there's enough of an ebb and a flow. Again, I can't promise anything. I don't have a crystal ball. But I think that there would be enough spaces that there would be room for someone that's coming to visit or to stay overnight or whatever it might be, that there should be sufficient parking. And as far as there has been some concern about McDonald's and where their customers going to park, McDonald's has a significant amount of parking spaces, but because that lot, the Cannonball lot is so wide open, that's where people are pulling in. That's why people are seeing so many cars and trucks and trailers and everything pulled in there, because it's convenient. Once there's a building standing there, they're going to have to utilize McDonald's parking spaces that they have. So I know that before they put in their double lane at McDonald's, that they did have 86 parking spots. So now I know that some of those have been consumed because of that second alley or a second drive-through. But I still think that there would be sufficient of parking for McDonald's in order to accommodate their customers on either side of the building. But
or do you know if they're going to be using assigned parking spaces or like parking stickers for the residents that live there?
Bob, could you speak to that, please? This is Bob Keller. He's one of the developers.
Hi, Bob Keller, Keller Bartman. Yes, everyone has one parking stall in the basement. They're assigned the same parking spot. Okay. So, and I can give you just a little heads up like Red Wing. So we have a couple buildings there. One's 112 units. And what happened is the older people love the 2 bedrooms and the 3 bedrooms. They have 1 car. They took all our outer units. They took the biggest units. You think that those 3 bedrooms are going to have kids in it? I don't think so. It's going to be a retired person that has a lot of furniture and they want to sell their house, and that's what exactly happened in Red Wing. And that really makes a big difference because you have 1 car for those, and then you have 1 car. Most of those single efficiencies are all 1 person. They're either in town for a job that they don't want to buy a house, and they will be buying a house, but they're living very efficiently on their first year salary. And that's actually been probably our biggest help in Red Wing, getting new people coming into the businesses of having a place to live. But yeah, assigned in the basement. Outside, we have handicap, and we have, all the other parking. And like I said, with 112 units in the one building, you can just watch how things flow. People go to work in the morning, and you can drive by any of our buildings. Even the 61 unit, there's plenty of parking in there, and we actually have a lower ratio than you guys are asking for. So,
In other words, they're not all home at the same time.
no, and even with COVID, it's been really different. I mean, we have a lot of dogs, but that's one of the things so we're planning, that's why we want to do the outside areas, have a lot of green space, do whatever we can. And we don't want to take any more of our green space for parking because you do need a certain amount of green space there. So, and like I said, I'm always open for questions, so.
Okay, as long as we're on that subject, how do you feel that, you think we have enough green space? It's a little bit tight there, correct?
I know the city's been really interested in utilizing the walking paths and doing things, and it's just like Laura said, there's going to be funds available down the road. The more we get things happening, then people look at it and say, oh yeah, we can apply for this grant, or we can apply for this. So, this is a stepping stone. This is to get places for teachers to live, people to sell their houses. It's going to be a process, and it's going to turn into a working neighborhood. And you're seeing this in the cities where, it's kind of crazy. There's a gas station, an apartment building, and then a fast food. And people actually like living in these areas. They like the action. They like the convenience. And it's not, for everyone, but it actually has worked out really well. I've done a lot of research, and I just didn't jump into this. It's been a lot of years of looking in to see how demographics have changed and how people have changed, how the younger people don't want the same thing that I wanted when I got married. They're not into cutting grass or trimming trees or whatever. They just want to know where they can store their kayak.
Yeah. What do you tell them?
We actually have storage in the basement. We have bike racks, so every stall will have a cabinet above with it's got hooks, and you can hang your bikes on there. And we've done a lot of things like that in the building. I mean, we put in, just areas for people to be able to pull their car off and work on their car in the basement, or, just different little things that have really helped in the building. So it feels more like home, especially our common space. Most of our buildings have 22% common space, and the first thing a builder says to me is, oh, you're spending way too much money on your common. But you know what? It's really nice to be able to have wider hallways, bigger areas, and it makes it feel like an apartment, or not apartment, a hotel. And that feeling really lends to people loving to live there. And that's what we found in the last year or so.
You just mentioned common space. That was one of the criticisms from our zoning, the letter that we got from the chair there. It says there's no mention of the 20%. You just said that.
Yeah,
every
and it
is
might
22.
be between 17 and 22. I don't know exactly. I'd have to ask Andy. Okay. So, we have the area where, the community room. Our buildings, every day, those get used. The patios get used. We have a fire pit out there, a little fire table, And you just start, even in the front entrance, you come in, there's a fireplace and places to sit. And even through COVID, it was really neat to see that people would maybe have insurance agents or people come to need, they wouldn't go to their apartment. They would come downstairs and they would sit in certain areas or go to the community room. And also, if you're a single person, you can actually have areas to meet someone, to do things like that. And also just getting to know people without those areas and have the outside space. And today, it's funny, I just got a call from one of our other buildings, and the first thing they said is, do you know the grills are burnt out? Well, they're 3 years old. So do you know how much those grills get used outside? And that's kind of cool to see, that people are using this stuff.
So there is common space?
Yes, yes.
that's
It's
good.
not where you walk in and it's just a closed
Right.
little area. Yeah.
Got it.
Is there laundry on site there?
Everyone gets
Every
laundry.
unit?
So we don't do one building that each person, in the efficiencies, they'll have a stack, but it's actually a real stack. It's not a combo. And then every other, in a lot of the bigger units, they'll have a top load. But it just depends on how we set up each of the apartments, but everybody gets their own laundry.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might move.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Any other discussion?
Going back to the apartments that are allocated for the lower income, what happens if they don't get filled?
They sit empty. So the 40% of the units are reserved for that, and they have to be filled by people in that. You have something to add?
Key word on that is
Reserved.
Because what's really neat about it is my mom and dad have worked their entire life. Now they're in their 80s. Well, their income has kind of dwindled down. They've, their stocks are gone and stuff. So they're making right around $40,000 a year retired right now. Well, they used to make 80 at one time. So you look at this, this is perfect for a person that all of a sudden they get to be this age. It's like, I can sell my house. It doesn't matter how much money I have in the bank, but it matters what my income is. So they're right at $40,000. They could move into one of those apartments, pay rent, and actually, live there, and it would pretty much accommodate them for the rest of their life, for the next 10 years or however long they live. And what it does is it leaves it open for people like that. If we just had everything for everybody that could afford it, and you put everybody in there that's making $100,000, well, you still have that group of people out there that is looking for rentals or looking for a place to go that have no place because there's nothing available. So that's how that works. So the reserved is the biggest key. Yeah.
And Bob, didn't you say that you have a fairly large waiting list?
In Red Wing right now, today was 23 families are waiting to get in the 112 unit, and we have 13 families by Rivers Ridge. So, yeah.
Does the income have to be verified every year?
No, it's just a one-time verification. And, what we've seen in the last 3 years is a lot of times this is helping, people have divorces, people have things, and all of a sudden their incomes change. Well, now they can get on their feet. They're just, they have a place that's stable, and if there wasn't anything available for them, where would they live,
Yeah.
So. Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Would there be a motion on Resolution 2578?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Bringall, a second by Duncan, to approve Resolution 2578, approving the rezone and development stage for Keller Bartman 79-unit apartment complex at 415 Hickory Drive. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Passes 5-1. Okay, the second part is the introduction and first reading of Ordinance 379. It's an ordinance of the City of Cannon Falls, Minnesota, amending the City Code, Chapter 152, rezoning property at 415 Hickory Drive from B2 to R4 PUD and approving the final plans. Diane?
To use them?
Neil? Sarah?
So this you're seeing tonight because the city requires 2 readings of every ordinance. If you didn't require 2 readings, we would just have brought this to you at the next meeting where you consider final plans. So this is just asking the council to do a first reading of this ordinance. That will allow us to do the second reading and final approval with the final approval of everything else. So it's the same project, same information. Happy to answer any questions you have, but it's essentially the same approval, just a first reading of the next step.
Any questions? Well, we don't need a motion on that, so.
Yeah,
we do.
With a motion to move it
Yeah,
on?
we do.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of ordinance number 379.
I'll second.
Motion by Duncan and a second by Lundell to approve the introduction of first reading of ordinance 379, an ordinance of the City of Cannon Falls rezoning property from B2 to R4 PUD and approving the final plans. Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Passes 5-1. Okay, we'll get into reports. Kyle, Chamber.
Thank you, council members, and good evening, community. We have a couple of announcements for the chamber. Right now, we are at 184 chamber members. That is a tie with our highest number of members, and 12 of those are brand new. And so I'm really happy with that. Even coming out of COVID, it's still strong support. In our planning meeting for 2022, the board has recommended that we do 2 open air fairs and 2 fun fests next year. And so 2 will be on the sidewalks, 2 will be with blocking Mill Street. And so we just want to give it a fair shot with both ways. We have not set dates for that yet. Last weekend, there were 7 different community businesses having events going on throughout Cannon Falls. That was fabulous because there was a lot of people around. That was very good. This coming weekend, not this weekend, but October 2nd and 3rd, there are 6 events going to be happening. And so Ferndale's having a Customer Appreciation Day. The Cannon Falls Education Foundation is doing a poker social run. Okay, everyone knows what that is. There's a Twin Cities horse sale, the Harvest Fiber Festival, and they're going to have a lot of vendors out at the farm. The 49th Annual Sogan Valley Art Fair is happening that weekend, and also the Oktoberfest at Tillian Brewing. They've already got 2 new beers out, and I think they've got 1 or 2 more in the wings. And so that first weekend of October is going to be a fun time in Cannon Falls, so be sure to invite your family and friends. Now, some questions that I've been getting have been around Lake Billsby on the Goodhue County side. And everybody is wondering what's happening with all those dirt piles. So I contacted Brad Anderson, and they are working on putting a buffer between the highway and the park for the reduction of highway noise and the separation from the road. They're using the pile, adding more ditch cleaning project to it so those berms can be higher. Then trees will be planted to further the separation. And the bidding for the pavilion should happen this fall and construction next year. And so, not sure how big the pavilion is or what the shape is, but there's plans for a pavilion out there. And so, for everyone out there, it is going to be a berm that will separate and do a sound barrier between the highway and the lake. So hopefully that will be great. Okay? Any other questions?
Were you involved with the citywide garage sale? Do you know how many there ended up being, or?
32.
32, okay.
There were 32. That is completely an O'Rourke Cannon Falls Beacon project.
Okay.
But we do help publicize it.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so there were only 32. In the past, they've had to have 50 to run it. And so we'll see what happens for the spring.
Okay.
Okay? We do have the Cannon Valley Senior Center doing a Community Appreciation Day on September 25th. That is this coming Friday. And so from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., come on down and get your hot dogs and greet all of the senior citizens. Thank you and have a great night.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.
Okay, Finance Committee.
We met on the September 13th. The only item was on our agenda tonight with the Public Works hire that we're going to move forward with.
Okay, Planning Commission.
Okay, this is going to take a while. The Planning Commission that happened a week ago, Monday, was probably the single worst-run meeting I have seen in the history of Cannon Falls. We had, in essence, a Planning Commission that went rogue. One could almost say a coup attempt. What they did is, if you recall, this council, I don't know how many meetings ago it was, 2 or 3, we amended the agenda for not only a council meeting, but for all our committees and commissions. The Planning Commission thought they could just override that, and they moved one item, input, to the beginning of the meeting. They were wrong to do so. They have no right to override the council. In that same meeting, they tried to remove something from the agenda that was affected that we went through tonight. Tonight it was run properly how you do these things. So what I am proposing, so that this does not happen again, is that the council adopt an ordinance where the staff or council sets all agenda formats, not only for the council, but for all committees and commissions. Second, if on all our committees and commissions, we usually have 3 or 5 members. Planning Commission is 7. We've currently been running with 6. I would also like to see a separate ordinance on that, where we would reduce it from 7 to 5 members. And we'd also add a second council member as part of those 5. But yet we would retain a third council member as an alternate. We currently have 1. And that alternate would fill in for either council member if they were gone, or, as has happened over the years, to ensure a quorum where that third alternate could sit up with the Planning Commission. So I would like both of those to be brought forward for the council consideration at our next meeting. And Sarah, is that something?
We still got time to add it first.
That's not a bad idea.
Add it to,
Session on Monday.
can we amend that agenda?
Yeah, let's do
Okay,
that.
well then let's add it to that. Because what happened a week ago Monday was absolutely horrible. This should never happen. Nobody on staff, nobody from Keller Bartman, Laura from the EDA, weren't even able to talk. That meeting was so atrocious. And anybody involved with that helped participate in that fiasco, quite frankly, should resign from the Planning Commission. That's all I have on the Planning Commission.
Okay, Library Board.
I didn't go. It was the same night as our other meeting. Did you
No.
go, Laura?
I didn't.
No.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I know they were going to do some long-range planning. Is that what happened, or?
Yes, we did have the long-range planning. I happened to be part of that group that got together, a very well planned out. They had done a survey of the community, a survey of the staff, and then I think there were about 12 of us in the room, and 1 student. And she was very interactive, and so very good. And so it was a very interesting meeting where they had brought together all the answers of the survey, and then those of us in the room got to bring up ideas and where we thought those ideas would fit. And so we basically came up with 7 different categories. I think it was 7. Operations, equipment and facility building, and I'm going to miss them, marketing and promotion, But it was interesting how we could move all of these ideas and suggestions from the surveys into those categories, and then now they'll be able to work on those and do a plan and a process to get those completed.
Good.
So I was very impressed with the strategic planning group from Selco, and I think that was a great idea to do.
Good.
Okay, let's go around here. Danny, you got anything tonight? Were they digging on Colville today? Did I see? Digging that exploration dig on there? Or was that something else?
We're tentatively planning to do the Colville dig next week.
I thought I saw some trucks up there today, but maybe it was...
I know they were filling some potholes today on Colville.
Okay, maybe that's
Yeah.
what it was. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Laura?
A few things. I'm working on the John Birch Park bonding bill, trying to get us on the fall tour. So just waiting on my draft letter to be reviewed and approved so that I can get that sent off. Been working with a few of the different businesses in Cannon Falls, answering a lot of questions regarding the Minnesota Deed Main Street COVID-19 relief grant that's out there. It's kind of a lottery system again. They did one like this last year where it's broken down, certain dollar amounts are reserved for women-owned businesses, veteran-owned, minority-owned, and then the rest of the population they spin the wheel and see who wins. Anyway, so that's a 10-day window. So we've had some businesses that have been calling me asking, what did I get last year? Can I still apply for this? So being able to help them navigate that has been good, so they can hopefully get $10,000 or more if they qualify. Got the information, all the documents submitted for the DNR Regional Trail Connection that we were awarded back in June. So we need to get that contract executed so we can actually start letting the project. But I got that submitted earlier today. So we should be seeing a contract coming soon, hopefully, so we can start preparing for that project. And then kind of a side note on my side gig, working for CETA, housing has been such a hot topic, not just in Cannon Falls, but also in the county and in the region. So Goodhue County is having a housing webinar, or a housing summit webinar series, and it starts next Wednesday. So if any of you are interested, there's 7 weeks. It'll run through November 10th. It's every Wednesday at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's kicking off next Wednesday, starting with a review again of the housing study for Goodhue County that came out last year. So that'll kind of be the benchmark, and then everything from alternative construction to affordable housing to tiny homes, and how considering rezoning, how communities can rezone for allowing those types of communities. Also homelessness in Goodhue County and available properties. So there's, like I said, I mean, they'll last about 60 minutes, depending on the discussion, but there'll be a couple presenters at each week. But if any of you are interested from the council or even from the audience, just go ahead and reach out to me, and I can certainly send you the registration links for that. They're free to attend, but it can be very informational, especially since it's pertinent to what we're dealing with here. So that's all I have. Thank you.
I should just mention that these SEMPRA letters that have come out in the mail,
Yeah, I was
these
going to say that.
loans up to $10,000 for plumbing repairs and all that, that's a good deal. And they're forgiven too if you're still living in the house, 7, 8 years later or something like that.
Well, and I think that is anyone that does receive that letter, I mean, they are really hoping for 51% of the community to respond. So everyone should send them back, whether you are interested or not.
Yeah,
But
that's
they
what I
really want the feedback. Yes, they want the feedback, whether you need work done on your house or if you don't. They want as many people to send it back as possible. So postage is included. So go ahead and send it back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Diane, you have anything?
I don't, John, thank you.
Okay. Mitch? Sarah? Neil?
I just want to welcome you back, Mayor. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
And Aaron, it'll be great working with you. Get a good relationship going on here, so welcome to the community.
Okay. Derek? Mary Jill?
Here I go. A few things. First of all, well, maybe it's the only thing I'm really going to talk about, is what happened last Monday night, because I was here, I was observing. And I'm kind of, I know this sounds strange for me to be saying about myself, I'm kind of without words. The chair, Mike, essentially proclaimed things during the meeting and changed things. You know, we didn't do that, so it's going back here. Well, that's not how that works. You know, it's just, it was so unprofessional, and it just, that just boggled my mind. But secondly, at the risk of sounding like I'm defending my ex-husband, I'm about to defend my ex-husband. Yeah, you better sit back. Who, both of you, who essentially was hung out to dry during that meeting. I mean, there was one other member who doesn't speak a lot anyway, who I think agreed with most of what he said. But when he said, you know, that the complaints were basically coded racism, they were coded racism. You don't have 30 community members saying, "This, we love the project, it's just in the wrong place. It's just the wrong location." It's an apartment building. What the heck? What does that mean? It's in the wrong location. You know, as I heard one man say last week, it's not the location, they're worried about who's going to live there. That's what it is. That's all it is. Or if someone says, crime is going to increase, that's also code for racism. They're worried about who's going to live there. It really just boggles the mind. And all of the remarks that he said he'd seen. There was, in fact, a very prominent comment, which has since been deleted, from someone who said, "I don't think we're taking care of our residents, we're taking care of recent and complete with bunny ears immigrants from below the southern border." Now, come on. Who's that talking about? Not talking about Des Moines, guys. They're talking about Mexico. And it just sickens me that this is what we've come to. Or the people said, well, they say on the one side the apartments are subsidized, which they aren't, or for low income, and then on the other side, oh, they're too expensive, nobody can live there. Well, pick a team. If you're gonna respond about something like that, pick a side. We've all up here, we may not want to say it, but we've all heard these things. We've heard worse, and we've certainly seen worse written. And I think we all know what we've seen written that we can't necessarily share or whatever, but I mean, the number of times I heard, well, it's just going to mean more crime. What do you mean? I mean, is there more crime at the senior apartments along Main Street? I mean, that's an apartment building too. There was no public outcry when that was built because crime was going to increase. You know, it's tiring, but I think the worst thing of all, Bill, and I'm so sorry about this, someone called you a Democrat. And that's what hurt, I'm sure. We were married 20 years and we spent the whole time canceling each other's votes out. But it's maddening and it just makes you sputter almost. But I'm glad that the council is going forward. I think we can do this. We'll do it the right way. We'll get it done. And I think it's going to end up being just fine. That's all I've got.
Steve? Better take a drink. I don't have anything.
Okay. Laura?
No, I was just going to bring up the SEMCHA thing to make sure that people respond because,
It's a
as
good
I
day.
understand it, you have to have 50% to respond in order for anybody to get.
Yeah, it's a good deal. Yeah, make sure everybody gets that in.
So.
Matt?
Just real quick, could we add the public input discussion to our work session? I think this issue has been frustrating for the last couple of years even. We've moved it, we've changed the wording. I've done some research to look at how other communities, the League of Minnesota Cities, how they handle this. I think where the problem lies is it's created a division between us and the public. I think the purpose is to have it at the beginning of the meeting and people can speak about items on the agenda so that we can hear what they have to say. But I think there's a lot of communities, and some of them might be bigger metro, but I know small towns do it too. It's not just somebody shows up and gets to step up. There's a sign-up sheet, and they have to sign their name and what they are going to talk about. And if that person goes off topic and starts to attack a council member on their history or to talk about something else, the mayor can gavel and say, you're done. You can have time limits. You can set the limit of the total time, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, so that you have a set time, because we have work to do. So if it's a packed house and it's a controversial issue, the mayor gets to look at that sheet and it has to be signed before the meeting, and he will call the people up to speak. I think there's also some benefits to that, because if there's a controversial issue that has people fired up, and if it was just an open forum and people can get up and speak, what if those who are loud are intimidating the other people that don't want to speak? But the mayor can decide, if we're going to have 10 people speak, we got 5 on this side, we got 5 on this side. And if somebody comes to multiple meetings and keeps signing up, and the mayor says, we've seen this person, we've heard this person, respectfully, they're not going to talk tonight. It can be the mayor's discretion. I think there are rules that can connect us more with the public. I think it can actually be more beneficial to our meetings. I think right now it's been kind of an us against them, and when we say they can't talk about issues on the agenda, I've seen people say, can I talk now? It just doesn't seem to fit the original meaning of public input. I think that we do have to hear from our people, but I think that there are rules to keep it in theme of the meeting and keep us on topic and keep things moving.
I think that's what we're talking about. I think
So if we could put that on the work session, I'd appreciate that.
That'd be awesome.
That's all I got.
Bill?
Just one other thing I forgot, I was discussing the planning commission. The other item was the sexual-oriented whatever. At the hearing last Monday, the person who wanted to put it out at Artisan Plaza, David Olson, didn't even bother to show up. I mean, they treated it as a joke, and I think that's what they intended. So I was very disappointed in Mr. Olson not even coming to his own public hearing. That's it.
Okay. There's only one meeting. Let's see, we got a work session? That's news to me. When is that?
Monday.
Monday?
Here, I'll show you how to run this.
Monday at what time? 6:30. Monday at 6:30?
For the work session.
There's
We
the
have
sanitation meeting? Did
we
you
have
put
a-
it on there? Here. Okay.
Right.
Okay. The only other meeting I see before we meet again as a council is the Joint Powers Board on September 28th. So I'll mention that. Okay.
I'll go too.
Okay, anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Gezzy, second by Duncan to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.